So the radio situation is greatly simplified over here. 122.9 is our frequency. That's it. We have no tower, we have no ATIS. Now because we have no ATIS, we also have no barometric pressure, so we're not going to be setting something into the Colsman. Instead, we're just going to set the needle to 10 feet. So each small line is 20 feet, so halfway between 0 and the first line is 10 feet. There's your altimeter setting. The taxiway right here is basically parallel to the runway. Runway numbers are 1, 2, and 3, 0, so that's basically what this is. I'm not saying that's exactly what you're going to set in there, but it's going to be pretty darn close to 1, 2, and 3, 0. So
1, 2, and 2. Alright. On, radios are set. Mixture 1/4 lean. That's it, and
okay, and yoke all the way back. We'll kind of just zip out through here. We're going to do our run-ups right at the bend down there. No specific spot. In fact, if there's a spot that's got some shade, that's the spot we're going to use, but other than that, it doesn't matter.
We're looking for the shady spot to do our runway.
Yep. You keep coming to the right a little bit more. And then the taxiway, you can see that we kind of built it up so there's a kind of a hump. So just stay right on the tallest section. That's basically your center line.
Yeah, I meant that. So the first time we came over here shooting, I noticed that beam was rotten. I was going to tell your dad, hey, tell me when you want to, and I'll cut you down a pine tree, because I got pine trees coming out my butt. And then I came over here and he replaced it, and I was like, crap.
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't feel too mush. Not too much different. It's a little rough, but
it's not soft at all right now. I don't know where we're at as far as the rain table or whatever, but boy, it's not even remotely soft. Even though we've had some pretty decent downpours here a couple of evenings. So again, anywhere right around the corner is good.
I'm gonna pull right up there that stake. That looks like the shadiest spot and a good marker right there. Alright, let's go over here. Brakes are set. 1,000. Good there. Rudder feels good. 1,700. And there's 1,700 amp meter is good. Green, okay. Meg check. 1, 2. Got a 50 drop. 1, 2. 1. Got a 50 drop as well. And carb heat coming in. Carb heat still 100 drop. Alrighty. Then we'll come all the way back. And good idle. Back up to 1,000. Set on trim. Flight instruments are good as it's gonna be. Alright, we're ready to roll.
Okay, and go straight ahead. And the taxiway at its narrowest spot is maybe 50 feet wide, and our wingspan is about 35 feet, so we got plenty of clearance on either side. Just aim for the middle. And of course, the easiest way to aim for the middle, it's kind of like when you're landing the airplane. Don't look right in front of the engine cowling. Look as far out as you can. That makes it easiest to stay in the middle. And when we get down at the end, I'll point some more things out to you. One of the huge things to be careful of is dragging the brakes. So try to get in the habit of keeping your toes as far down on the pedals as possible, because it's even easier to be using the brakes and not realize you're doing it on grass. And it's a much more safety critical thing, because we're dealing with a smaller runway, so we don't want to be creating any drag on those brakes on takeoff, and we don't want to lock up a wheel on landing. That would be bad. So this is pretty much where it's a little bit narrower, but again, we still have 50 feet at least.
Yeah, it looks like a used car lot down there.
Unfortunately, that's pretty much what it is. Long story behind that. I wish the guy never would have moved in, or I wish Robert wouldn't have let him move in, but it is what it is. As we come past this hangar on the right, if you look to your right, you're going to see the row of T hangars down there, and there'll be a windsock on top of the hangars.
Yep.
Excuse me. And the wind is shown at its favoring runway 12. So we're going to keep going straight ahead here. Runway 12 is right-hand traffic, runway 30 is left-hand traffic, so therefore all of our downwinds are on that side of the runway. You can keep going straight ahead here, and we'll make a right-hand turn on the runway. Right there is where we want to cross onto the runway, because we have the lowest amount of, hump or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Keep that throttle coming, keep the airplane rolling. Yep, right rudder, and we'll head on down. We are going to taxi on one side of the runway or the other, so we'll just keep coming around to the right and put the airplane as close to the ditch over here as possible without being in it. All of our taxiing is going to be done on one side of the runway or the other. We're going to save our wear and tear in the middle of the runway for landings. Takeoffs, we're going to pick one side or the other. Taxiing, we're going to pick one side or the other. If we would have landed on 30 just now, say we just landed, we're coming to a stop, this would be an example of not turning around to the left. If you turn to the left, you're going to prop blast all these planes. So we go over there and we turn around this way. So that's one example of that.
Is that a 170?
Yep.
Okay, so how are we turning around here?
So I'm going to take the controls from you for a moment or two and show you a couple more things. So if the ground is soft, if you're taxiing along and you're saying to yourself, it's a little softer than normal, you're not going to go past those cones down there.
Okay.
You're going to let turn around anywhere over here. And you can even use that extra little area right there. That's no problem. Mm-hmm. If the ground is firm, you could still do that, or what I would recommend is coming back here and using as much runway as possible. So we are going to come past the cones. And here's the second example of not turning the plane to the left. So what we're going to do if we come back here is we're going to make an immediate left-hand turn and hug that ditch and turn away from it. We will never turn towards it, because if you time it wrong, a brake fails, or your foot slips off the pedal, you're going in the ditch. So when you come back here, we always turn away from the ditch.
Okay.
The secondary benefit to turning the airplane away from the ditch is you're positioning the aircraft further back here versus if we would have come around the other way, and you got more runway in front of you. You're going to hear me say that a bunch of times. We want that runway, man. We want as much runway as possible. So by coming back here versus, say, if we would have turned out there in front of the cones, we got ourselves at least an extra 100 feet of runway. We also got a little bit of a ski jump effect because we came uphill, which again, hey, we're doing everything we can to stack the deck in our favor. So you can go and do your lineup checklist now, and the only difference on that lineup checklist is going to be we're going to use 10 degrees of flap.
So transponder to altitude. Nav lights are on. Make sure full rich. Heading indicator is set. Doors and windows are closed. And we're going 10 degrees of flaps. So there's 10 degrees right there.
Hodges traffic, Skyhawk 8305 Bravo is departing 12 Hodges. So I'll kind of take the lead on the takeoff, kind of follow along with me. And again, this is kind of a Hodges takeoff. It's not a soft field, short field, or a normal takeoff. Making sure the tootsies are on the very bottoms of the pedals, no possibility of brakes being used. Right now the yoke is pulled all the way back. That won't be true for the entire takeoff roll. So as we put in full throttle, keeping the airplane to the left side of the center line, we're not going to pick the nose wheel completely up off the ground. We're just keeping the nose wheel light. So the yoke is coming a little bit forward as we roll. Just a little bit. We're still going to rotate the airplane at 50 miles an hour. So when we start to see 50 miles an hour, we're going to start to pull back. Airplane's coming up. And let that nose come down for 60. Pitching for 60. VX. Even if those trees are in the windshield, we can't pull up to get over them. We got to keep the speed at 60. That's our best bet for clearing those trees. Just pulling up ain't gonna help. We clear those trees, and then we let the nose come down to 70. And it's not going to be exact because of turbulence and blah, 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 but we're doing the best we can. There's 70. Flaps come up first, and then we continue climbing at 70. You've got the controls. Keep going straight ahead. We may or may not be able to see the first of many reference points. It's right in front of us. Well, I'm sorry, it's to the right of us. See the school over there?
Yeah.
Make a right-hand turn prior to reaching that school.
Right-hand turn prior to reaching the school.
Yep, so towards Richmond Hill. The reason is, so if we're staying in the pattern, we're going to make our crosswind turn at either 500 feet or the school. If we go any further past the school, we're going to get into Hunter's Delta airspace. So that's the significance of the school. It is right on the line for Hunter's airspace. You can keep on turning until we're facing the Ford Plantation Golf Course, which sticks out in the river down there. Right there.
Yeah. Okay.
And we'll continue climbing 70. We'll level off at 1,000 feet for now. Little Mo right rudder, bring that ball right between the lines. And again, if we were to look at a sectional chart, we would see that the actual border for Savannah's shelf airspace is before the river, but we're just going to call it the river just to make things easy. Pitch the nose down first, speed building second, and then throttling back to cruise third.
So that's a golf course, huh?
Yep.
Didn't know that.
So keep that nose down, so we keep that altitude right around 1,000. $23.50 for your cruise RPM, and you can use the trim tab to take the force out of the yoke. Once we come across the river, we can do any altitude we want. So once we get across the river, let's go ahead and climb up to 2,000 feet. We can just cruise climb at 80 miles an hour, full throttle obviously, up to 2,000. can just head generally that way down the interstate, something like that.
Back up.
Okay, let's do a couple of 360s on the left, one on the right, whenever you're ready.
All right, come left. Terrible. Sad.
Been a second since you've been out of the pattern.
What's that?
It's been a second since you've been out of the pattern.
Lost over 400 feet on those turns. Oh my God. The thing about it is I could feel the nose dropping, and I thought I was counteracting it, and then when I looked down and finally checked the altimeter, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, just need a little more pull. No big deal.
Practice, 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 practice.
Okay, so what I want you to do now is turn the airplane around whichever direction you'd like to.
I wonder which turn was sloppier, the left or the right. I'll go left. Get more practice that direction. That felt better.
And we'll work on some pilotage here to find our way back to Hodges. So if you look out the left window, it's a little hazy, but you can see Hinesville's airport over there. You can see right. Just behind the left wing, that open area over there.
Yeah, okay.
Hodges, on the other hand, is completely invisible. So we're going to have to find some other checkpoints that we can use to find the airport. And the easiest one, the one that sticks out the most from the practice area, is that white water tower directly in front of us. See what I'm talking about across the river?
Across the river, white water tower right
all
there.
By its lonesome, yep. So that water tower is actually right behind the Walmart on 17. So it's not like it's directly at the airport, but it's real close. So for now, we're going to aim for that. So you can aim for the water tower, and you can do a descent at your discretion. Let's go down to 1,100 feet. As long as we're down to 1,100 by the time we cross the river, we're good. .2,000 RPM or more on the throttle and 110 or less on the speed, and we good.
Just traffic, wind blue Cubs back taxiing 12 for departure, Hodges. Hodges traffic, going blue Cubs, parting 12 Hodges.
So, be able to see him pop out.
We might. Still pretty far.
By my reckoning, Hodges should be somewhere in that green area between this built-up area and the water tower.
Yeah, pretty close to that. As we keep going, we'll alter course a little bit. I'll show you some other landmarks to help you find it. But like I said, when you're out there in the practice area, aim for the water tower, and as you get close to the river here, then you can start altering your course based on which runway you think you're going to land on. What we're going to do, we're coming up on these train tracks.
Yeah.
Start to make a right-hand turn until you're parallel to those tracks.
Wind blue Super Cubs overhead the field, climbing through 1,000, departing to the north. Hodges.
I seen him flash there for a second.
About a mile in front of us, we got that little green field right there. That is the dump on Chevis Road. Notice that right there, those train tracks split. We are going to follow the ones that veer to the left. So as we get up there to that field, just keep everything on your side of the airplane so you can see it better. We'll hang a little bit of a left-hand turn, continue following those tracks. That's Hunter. Army Airfield over there.
Yeah.
Savannah International up there. So we're about 6 miles from Hunter right here, maybe 7, or about 10 or so from Savannah.
Yep.
That big flooring place on Highway 204 that's got the big American flag, that's the big American flag.
Yeah.
That's the world's greatest windsock when you're approaching Hodges. So you can see the wind is out of the east, so we know we'd be landing on 1-2 today just based on looking at that. So that's an excellent thing to look at as you're approaching the airport. That pond, that closest pond,
yeah,
is right across from the edge of the runway. So just keep, don't bank too much to the left. Keep kind of going in this direction.
Yeah.
Keep your nose up. Stay at that 1,100 feet. Remember, the tendency is to push down when you're looking down, so don't do that. And you can see the hangar starting to poke up through the trees there. So the game plan, we'll just kind of do a lazy left-hand turn. Once you get on the other side of the runway, lazy left-hand turn. Keep bringing it around. Keep that throttle in there. And just to get you a look at the place. There we go. So that left-hand turn, because if we go any further, we get into Hunter's airspace right there.
All right.
You kind of keep on turning, get yourself kind of parallel to Highway 17 right here, heading back across the river. The green field right there is significant because that's where we're going to be on our downwind every time. So look at the distance from the green field to the runway. That's about 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile. So we will be on top of that green field every time we're downwind, whether it's a left downwind for 30 or a right downwind for 12. For now, we're going to keep on heading across the river. A couple other things to point out to you. We got the 17 bridge where it goes across the Ogeechee, and then over there we got where 95 goes across. Where the I-95 bridge cuts across the Ogeechee, that's pretty much where Fort Stewart restricted airspace starts. So, to give ourselves a buffer, we don't really ever want to be on the west side of 17 right here.
Okay.
And because the wind is favoring 12, we're going to get ourselves in position to enter the downwind for runway 12. So for right now, just kind of fly down the river.
Okay.
Alright, and you can start letting your nose come down a little bit. We'll do a nice, easy descent down to 1,000. You can start doing a left-hand turn as well. As we come around to the left, you're going to see that green field again. And we are going to aim just slightly to the right side of it. Right over there is our field. Just aiming to the right side. The wind is out of the east, so essentially what we're doing here is setting ourselves up for the 45-degree angle to the right downwind to 1-2, plus we're crabbing into the wind a little bit. If we were to aim directly for that field, we'd be getting pushed out to the west, so we don't want that. You can actually see a little bit of a crab angle here.
Yeah, I can feel the crab.
More power to help yourself keep the 1,000, and we can make that turn now. Again, just aiming slightly to the right side of that field. If we position ourselves correctly, when we fly over that field, after we finish making the turn on the downwind, we'll be in an approximate heading of 300. So keep going straight ahead for now. We can't see the runway, but we can see the runway environment. You can see the slot in the trees. Keep the nose up to keep that 1,000 feet. And now we're making that turn to an approximate heading of 300. Keeping that nose up, keep that power in there. 2,200 is our minimum for the power, for the drive pattern. And as we come around to that approximate 300, keep on turning. You'll see the hangars poking up through the trees over there.
All right.
So here we are on our right downwind for runway 12. And we are at midfield right here, so we're going to start getting set for landing. Carburetor heat's going to come on. Power's coming back to 1,500. So there are no touchdown zone markers. We do our power reduction at midfield. Tracking parallel to the runway, keep the runway environment in sight. We're inside the wide arc, 10 degrees of flap, and we're still slowing down to 80 miles an hour. The base is still going to be 75. Final, however, we're going to slow down to 65 on final instead of 70. Our base turn is still going to be made at that approximate 45-degree angle. This red and white cell phone tower, see it right up there? That's going to be a pretty good spot to turn your base. In fact, just inside of it, that way we don't have to fly past it on final and wonder where the heck it is. Another notch flaps coming in. There we go, picking up your wing, nice 90-degree turn. Just like always, pitching for speed, power for altitude.
Coming right.
Hodges Traffic Sky K305 Bravo is turning final 12 Hodges. Airspeed is even more important as far as keeping a specific speed in there, because if we don't have a specific speed, we're kind of deceiving ourselves on altitude. So we're going 80 and we want 65, so we're going to pull that nose up. Right now we look too low.
Yeah.
Keep that power in there and pull the nose up to 65. If we change that speed, then we're more able to accurately say, oh, am I really too low, or was I just going too fast and had the nose hanging down too low? So that's why speed is first, and then we're able to control the altitude with power a bit more precisely. We're not aiming for a specific spot on the runway, we're just aiming for a spot above the trees. So we're starting to bring that throttle back until it's all the way back now. The runway is made, the throttle is closed. We're not dive bombing the runway. We're just keeping the speed approximately at 65. Remember that the airplane is more controllable. More notch flaps.
Yeah, forgot that.
Airplane is more controllable with a little more speed, so we're looking good. Here's starting our flare. That's it, looking all the way down to the choo-choo train. Continue pulling. Keep that yoke pulled all the way back. And we don't need any brakes. Just let her roll. Yep, I want you to let her roll on purpose because I want to illustrate something to you.
And stand her up.
You can veer over to the right side of the runway. So some power coming in so that we don't stop. Coming over here just enough to keep it rolling. And right about here is as far as you want to go. So then full left pedals coming in, a little bit of left brake. Probably not even that much power. Bring that power back a little bit so we don't skid those tires. There we go. And once the airplane's turned around under control and not coming to a stop, then you can worry about carburetor heat and flaps and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So, we touched down way past halfway down the runway.
Yeah.
We were probably darn near 2/3 of the way down the runway. We landed. You used a little bit of brake, but you didn't use too much when I told you to stop using them. And the airplane rolled to a stop on its own, and we still had a football field in front of us. And that's the point that I wanted to make with the first landing today. This runway is small, but it doesn't require any special Superman kind of effort. It's plenty of runway if you use the correct techniques. Bring that airplane all the way over to the right. We're not going to taxi in the middle. We're going to taxi to one side. We'll pick which side. Always one side or the other, saving the wear and tear in the middle for the landings.
So, at what point do you call a go-round on here?
That's a very popular question, and the answer is me shrugging my shoulders.
Whenever you think, no.
And the reason why it's that way, I know that sounds like a smart-ass answer, but the reason why it's not, well, when you get past the old Mooney, or when you get past that tree, the reason why that's not the answer is there's too many variables. How fast are you moving? How much wind is there? What's the density altitude? How heavy is the airplane? The list goes on and on and on. And so there isn't a spot where we do a go-around. With experience, you say to yourself, man, this is not looking so good. But you might have the airplane in the exact same spot and say, oh no, this is fine one day, and another day, oh no, this is go-around. There's so many variables that come into play. So, it just takes experience to know where that spot is, and that spot's changing. That spot's changing all the time based on all those variables. So, because we are going to go do it again, you can pop in your 10 degrees of flap now. Over to the right, or Mark's going to get chewed out. Taxi all the way over there on the side. Save that wear and tear in the middle for the landings, or Robert's going to say no more takeoffs and landings here, as all the grass dies in the middle of the runway.
So basically just divide this up into thirds.
Well,
kind of, sort of.
Just keep it over here as far as you comfortably can. Takeoffs, same thing. Landings, don't worry about that. Landings, we're aiming for the middle of the runway. And if we're taking off in the other direction, you can take off in the middle. It's just down here where he tries to keep it left and right. You can go back behind the cones and practice that. I'm closing my door. Your window's already closed. Everything else is set for takeoff. So what we'll do is just kind of come around and keep on rolling right into our takeoff. You can start backing off on the throttle as you come around. Let yourself get over there on the left. Release those brakes if you have any in there, and here we go, easing in full throttle, right into the takeoff. Full throttle. Hodges Traffic Scott K305 Bravo is taking off 12 Hodges. Good. Pitching for 60. Might seem counterintuitive, but if it takes nose down, then that's what we're doing to get that 60 in there. That's going to get us above those trees. Right rudder, not aileron. As a rudder keeps that tail following the nose. They're in the trees, then we're pitching for 70, and then the flaps are coming up. Good. Woo. That's it. Keep that nose coming up for 70. And again, at 500 feet or the school, whichever comes first. It's just right in front of us. You can start to turn now. There we go, coming out of your turn. 90-degree turns, just like always. The runway's harder to see, but we still got to look for it. Keep that nose coming up. 70 miles an hour. Coming up on our field for our downwind turn.
Wow, she's working me today. What a good...
So we'll be on that approximate heading of 300 as we fly over the field. So we let the speed come significantly up. That's all right, we can still get our 1,000 feet. Just pitching up for 70. And we can start our level off here. We came close to 1,000, that's close enough. Leveling off, throttle coming back, and going right into our reductions for landing. Remember, keep that head on a swivel. It's very easy to lose track of this runway, so spatial orientation is critical. If you haven't looked at the runway in the last couple seconds, haven't looked at it enough. 10 degrees of flap coming in. And we're still using that 45-degree angle, pretty much the cell phone tower out there, to turn onto our base.
So maintain the cell phone tower at 45-degree angle and make your turn.
And just like on the ground, we're always manipulating the throttle. We're doing the same thing here. We're not chasing it all around, but we're doing whatever needs to be done.
Third notch that we forgot before.
Okay, and start bringing that throttle back because we are lots high here. So bringing that throttle all the way to idle. We can always push some more in, but right now we're a little on the high side, so we'll manage that. Just because we're a little high now doesn't mean we won't end up too low. And we do have a good rate of descent going, so we probably will need to add some. Just add a little at a time until you find what's necessary. Balancing that attention between looking at the airspeed and the runway. A little slow, letting that nose come down for 65. If we start to get that chop right around the treetops and we're a little slow, the airplane's going to get very difficult to control. Throttle back to idle because it is made.
Nice to me. Oh.
Let it come down a little bit more. There's your pull. Good. Good. Just hold that yoke all the way back. Let it roll. If you're going straight with those feet, no brakes. No brakes needed. Let it roll. Your best brake is keeping the yoke pulled all the way back.
Yeah.
Oodles of runway. You can drift over to the right, turn around on the left.
Oh my God. My wife is gonna pee all over herself when she watches this. I'll be like, oh my God, I don't want to learn with Mark. He's gonna make me land on the postage stamp.
Yeah, that's right. Make you land on a postage stamp and give you some change back.
Oh my God.
All right, and we'll call it a day with that one. You can clean the airplane up and we'll make our right-hand turn where we came out earlier. The wind is really 50-50 here as to, you know, what is the wind usually doing? Is it favoring 1, 2, or 3, 0? Neither. You know, it could go either way. it's just as likely to be one or the other. That being said, if it is no wind at all, keep going a little bit more right where that grass is cut. That happens to be where we want to make our turn. That's where it's kind of flattest right there.
I was trying to remember to stay to the right.
Yep, here you go.
I wasn't trying to turn.
Oh, yeah. But when the wind is calm, or there's a 90-degree crosswind, 1-2 is the preferred runway, the one that we were just using.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is it's ever so slightly downhill. So taking off in 3-0, it's slightly uphill. 1-2 is slightly downhill. The trees are a little bit lower on the end of runway 1-2. And it tends to be drier up there if we did have a lot of rain. So those are 3 reasons why 1-2 would be the preferred runway, everything else being equal. But I'll tell you a caveat to that. You come out here first thing in the morning or last thing in the evening, again, if the wind isn't a factor, I'm going to look where the sun is. You ain't going to see me taking off on 1-2 first thing in the morning with calm wind with the sun right in my eyes. I'll go use 3-0 instead.
That was a little bit of a workout.
Usually is the first time. And it gets easier and easier.
And there's a pop. My father-in-law really liked your dad.
Oh, yeah, you're shooting.
Yeah.